Today we're going to talk about the new jawline. So what is the new jawline? Let's talk about what the old jawline is. In the old days, we thought about the jawline being basically a sagging jaw, a jowl, and a saggy turkey gobbler, or platysmal dehiscence, meaning that you see those two bands down there. And that's what we thought about is all that mattered when we do a neck lift, facelift, or whatever it may be. And they still are the priorities when we work on a lift. But there's a whole new thinking about what defines a beautiful, youthful jawline. And so first thing is that the jawline actually shortens. So what does shortening mean? It means that the outer mandible, when we're younger, is more defined, and we start to obliterate and lose that. So all we see is this jowl here, and then it disappears on the back side. So part of a facelift result is to redefine the back jawline. And when I do that, I lengthen the jawline. So part of the concept is lengthening the jawline. So instead of just seeing this bunchy jawline here and it disappearing, you want to see the entire mandible all the way back to the gonial angle. The gonial angle is this back side of the mandible where it goes all the way back here. How do you do that? Well, fillers, they work a little bit. If you're very bony or thin, maybe I can get a little bit here, but generally speaking, it's the heavier neck that needs a definition. So you do it through several methods. The first method is, in some patients, and I'll tell you when I do it, when I don't, is I can remove a part of the submandibular gland. If you said, was that safe? How do you do that? I have a whole podcast I encourage you to listen to called The Deep Neck Lift. I don't want to go through a 17-minute description of that. Welcome to watch that. I probably will shoot another video log or podcast on that. But the concept is when you can debulk this part of the neck, and it's not liposuction, that's a big mistake, listen to the Deep Neck Lift, then this defines the mandible in the midsection. But in the back section, so to lengthen the midsection, it is sometimes removing the submandibular gland, part of it, sometimes not. And then the back side, it's a technique of splitting the platysma. So when you lift the platysma, you can just wrap the platysma over the back side of the face and support it. But what I do is I split it, the sleeve, and I tuck this part up underneath the mandible so that way this area gets tucked and pushed inwards, and that defines the middle section and the back section. So then you get that sharp, cleaner posterior angle and you lengthen the mandible. So the definition of the gonial angle and the lengthening. So we've taken our attention now from here to back here and under here. So when do I take out a little bit of the gland, when and deep fat, and when do I just do this platysmal sling? So if someone has, so the best way that I will describe it to you is I will, at the beginning of a consultation, I'll take my hands and I will just pull up on the neck. If I look there and you have a pretty much right angle, I don't need to do any of those fancy moves in the deep neck. All I've got to do is do the split, the platysmal sling where I bring it up this way and then tack it back into this area to create that definition. And so the concept here is creating a more youthful jawline for the entire jawline, not just the frontal area. And it's a very safe technique. It's part of what's called a deep plane facelift. Can I do this non-surgically? Yes, but generally speaking, it's not that effective because the problem is the person suffering from this absence of definition is usually someone a little fuller or heavier set, and then adding fillers there to define that gonial angle doesn't necessarily look good. And the person that's very bony probably has some definition there to begin with. So I do it in very select patients, somewhere between the two of them, I do that. Interestingly enough, when you look at gland, a little bit of gland shaving in this area, is it always the heavy neck? And it actually is not. Some people that are really, really bony thin, they actually, when I pull back, I can actually see the gland like a golf ball. So if you've had a facelift done elsewhere and you wonder, why do I look so good, but I've got this circle sitting in my neck, I don't like that. I mean, what happened? That little weird golf ball is because when they tighten up a very thin neck, you start to see the outline of the gland. And so that's when the gland partial shave is so important, in my opinion, to get it more balanced. So I use a little bit of shaving in someone that's either very heavy or someone that is very thin. In between the two, if I just pull back and it looks good during the consultation, then usually I don't need to do that. But that's the new concept of the jawline, lengthening and defining posterior gonial angle, not just improving the platysma and the jowl, which is already a given.